Flip to Freedom, episode number 74. Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip to Freedom podcast, and we are on episode number 74. Now, if you are listening for the very first time, I'd like to welcome you and let you know that I started this podcast for you to help you escape the 9-to-5, get out of the rat race, be done with corporate America, and live the life of freedom. Now, you're going to learn how to do this by flipping properties in your spare time. Now, you're probably wondering, how the heck do you flip properties? How does this whole thing work? What is the deal with that? Well, I can tell you, just a handful of years ago, I had a complete dead-end job, a job that I didn't like, a job that I had to force myself to go to, a job that was just paying me enough so I couldn't quit, not enough where I could get ahead, and I was searching for something. I didn't know what I was searching for, but I was searching for something. Well, what happened was one Saturday afternoon, while I was driving to a sales call, I was flipping through the radio stations in my car, looking for College Game Day, and I tripped across this guy on this financial news radio station that was talking about how you could flip properties using no cash and no credit, and you can make anywhere from $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 per deal. Now, I thought he was crazy. I'm a natural-born skeptic, and I was like, there is no way this can be done, because I thought you had to have cash, and I thought you had to have good credit to be able to get involved in real estate. So, knowing me, I flipped the channel back, started listening to College Game Day, and something in my gut, I don't know what it was. It was God's divine intervention, and what happened was I turned the channel back and I continued to listen to what this guy had to say, and I was so intrigued about what he was talking about that I ordered his course, and I never ordered anything before like that. So I ordered his course, I devoured it, and like I said, that was a handful of years ago, and I took that information and just went nuts with it. And I went out, and now I run a successful real estate investing business. I have bought and sold over $120 million worth of property, primarily flipping houses. And flipping houses is as simple as finding a motivated seller. A seller that wants to get rid of the house, does not want to go through the traditional means of listing it with a realtor, whether the property's distressed or they're in financial distress, whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is there are sellers out there all over the place that just want to get rid of their property quickly and don't want to deal with a realtor. Well, guess what? You can contract that property, and contract it means you literally sign a piece of paper, a contract giving you controlling interest in the property for a price, and there's a closing time frame. Closing time frame is roughly 30 to 45 days. Well, within that closing time frame, you can turn around and sell that property, that paper, to a buyer, and a buyer will come in and they will look to purchase the property for cash. Okay? If the property is at the right price, they will buy it for cash. Now, I'll give you an example. You have a $100,000 piece of property, and let's say you get it under contract with the seller for $50,000, and you market it to a buyer for $60,000. Well, guess what? A buyer will come in. They're going to see that it's at 60% of the actual value. They're going to come in and pay cash for that. And you can do two ways you can get paid. Either A, you can assign or sell your piece of paper to them for $10,000, or B, you can do what's called a simultaneous close or a double escrow. And what's going to happen is the buyer is going to wire in 100% of the $60,000 plus closing cost, of which $10,000 goes to you, and the balance goes to the seller. The seller's happy, you're happy, and the buyer's happy. Everybody's happy. Now, you can do this. You can make $5,000 a deal, $10,000 a deal, $20,000 a deal. There are some deals you can make $200,000 or $300,000 depending on the size of the deal. And it doesn't matter if it's a single family house. You can do commercial properties. You can do multifamily properties. You can do $100 million properties. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is that once you have a controlling interest, you can sell that controlling interest for a higher price. That's what this whole podcast is about. Now, in the previous different episodes, episode number 1, I talk about my whole story of how I got involved in it and what I actually did after I bought that course, and I actually got in and started diving in, and all the other episodes after that talk about exactly specifically how to talk to motivated sellers, what to do, how to market, how to find the buyers, how to find the sellers, how to do the paperwork, and I bring in interviews from people, in my circle that I talk to that are doing deals, that are in the market doing deals, and have either the similar strategies that I do or a different spin on different strategies. Now, this particular episode, I have a gentleman here that's in my local market. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's in Phoenix, Arizona. He is a rock star real estate investor in this market. I've known him for years, and what he does is a little bit different than what I do. I was taught when I first got started to go out and knock on pre-foreclosure doors. That's what I was taught. Now I don't teach that today because the method is very difficult and it's very intimidating. But it is a way, but I don't teach it. And what he learned was more of the online stuff, and he focused on short sales, and he focused on loan modifications and stuff like that. And his name is Cody Sperber. And what is so great about him is that we have been in the market. We've both done I've done over $120 million. He's done $20 million of real estate deals. But the crazy thing is that we're making a ton of money here in this market. But we've never really crossed paths when it came to bumping into each other, because he has a unique technique of finding deals and doing deals that there is really no competition out there doing it, which is amazing. Now, when you're targeting for, HUD homes like I talk about, you're targeting, absentee investors, or you're targeting, pre-foreclosures or inheritance or probate or, distressed situations, maybe vacant properties, there are some competition, there, because there's other people that are marketing to those specific niches. But, when I talked to Cody, he was telling me about this niche that he has really kind of broke open, and it's amazing to see what he's been able to do. So I said, I have got to have you on this call, on an interview, and share with my subscribers and listeners what you're doing that is so unique and so different. Now, the amazing thing about it is that the spreads that can be made are just astronomical, and there's absolutely zero competition involved in it. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of exactly, me, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, I get in detail and I ask the right questions, so he just lays it all out in the line. So Cody, a little bit about Cody. Cody is here in the Phoenix market. He has a beautiful wife, and they work together. And he has been doing real estate for, I think, about since 2004, if I remember him saying. He's done over $20 million in deals. He does properties here in the market. I know because I've seen him and seen what he does, and I know he's a real estate investor. And the thing is that also, too, he was in the military. I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. He was in the Navy, so we kind of tease each other about that because, the Navy, they carry the Marines around, so to go out and go to battle. So I'd give him a little razzing about that. Anyways, he's a great guy, and we are going to go into a lot of cool stuff, a very unique way of doing deals that I never even thought of, never even crossed my mind, and has nothing to do with short sales or anything like that. But it's nothing to do with actually doing short sales. It's a unique way of taking a spin on the short sale situation, but not having to deal with the banks and go through the whole negotiation process or anything like that. So we're going to get into that here in a second. But before we do, I'd like to recognize a couple people who went into iTunes and they actually submitted reviews. They went in and searched real estate investing on one of the top 1 or 2 results up there, or they just typed in the Flip to Freedom podcast, and one gentleman went in there, and his name is Brian from Minnesota, November 27th, 5 stars. He said, "It is the ultimate podcast. Sean, you are the best. The amount of information you give out is crazy compared to the others, and you're still going, wow. For someone starting out in real estate investing or needs to boost, right here is where it's at. Sean will motivate you to take action in your life. Keep it coming." Well, thanks, Brian, for going in and submitting your review. I greatly appreciate it. It definitely helps in the iTunes ranking, so thanks for doing that. Now, Next one is 5 stars, and it says the best, all capital, real estate podcast is under, and I can't see the rest of it the way it is. Let me see if I can turn it sideways. No, that doesn't work. But this is from Scorpius 268, December 1st, 2011. It says, ever since I started listening to this podcast, I have no interest in listening to anything else. Sean is an amazing individual, and it shows because he's choosing to give away all this priceless information absolutely free. If you are ever looking to get to learn how to get into real estate investing, well, you have found the holy grail. Sean, I hope to meet you one day and shake your hand. What this podcast has done for me, I can't thank you enough. God bless you. You are the man. Thank you, Alex. Alex, thanks for submitting that review. I greatly appreciate it. And I can tell you, I try to just give away some great information, just because, to give back. You get a certain point in your life, in your career, in your business, and, you have this tugging of where you want to go out and try to do something bigger and impact people. Now, I can tell you, there are hundreds of thousands of people that listen to this podcast a month, and some of the emails and stories, and I can't answer everybody, of course, because it's very difficult, but, it is changing people's lives, and for the better, and I am so happy to be able to hear that. Now, I know that Cody here is going to put a different twist on what you ever thought. I guarantee you've never probably seen this particular method. I've been investing for years, and a handful of years, and back in early 2003 when I first started, and I can tell you I have never heard or even thought of this. Now, he's a technician when it comes to putting things together, and he's laid it out in a way for us to easily understand, but see the potential of what could happen. So, enough of my jibber jabber. Let's get into the interview right now with the clever investor himself, Cody Sperber. All right, I have Cody Sperber on the line with me right now. I'm so excited to have him here because he, like I said, has a brand new technique to generate massive amounts of profit. And it's actually, when he kind of told me about it, I was like, oh my gosh, that is brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? So Cody, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, and Sean, thanks for having me on.
Now, I can tell you one thing about Cody, and we're actually in the same market here in Phoenix, which is great, and it's amazing because there are so many deals here. We rarely run into each other because he's very innovative. He was one of the first guys here in Phoenix to really attack the internet and make a huge web presence online, and so it's amazing how we're in such a big market here, but we rarely ever connect when it comes to actually butting heads on any deals, which is absolutely amazing because you do a ton of deals, I do a lot of deals, and I think it's because you are an innovator and you find really creative ways to make deals happen, and when you were telling about this specific technique we're going to talk about here today, I was in awe. I was like, holy cow, this is absolutely crazy. I have got to get you on the line because it's so cool that people can use this and implement this in their business. So tell me about your background here in Phoenix and what you've done.
Sure. Yeah, I'm an investor full-time for the last 7.5 years. I've been, I started a company called Clever Investor, and I was able to get into investing, right out of college. I was in the military for 4 years, got out of the Navy, and I went to college, got a degree in finance, went and got a job, $43,000 a year. I thought I was making the good money, and doing what my parents wanted me to do, and went out and got this job. And I realized after, about 5 or 6 months in a row of working 70 hours plus a week,
right,
trying to just move up the corporate ladder, that wasn't the best, that wasn't my life. That wasn't really the best use of my time. I was complaining to my girlfriend all the time, who now happens to be my wife, that there's something else more out there for me. I'm really interested in real estate. from a very early age, I wanted to be involved in real estate, and that's where I kind of thought where all the millionaires were made. So started investing. First 2 deals got absolutely crushed, lost all my money that I saved up, lost all the money that I borrowed from my dad. He was pissed, and totally screwed everything up on my first 2 deals because I speculated. I did what everybody else was doing in Arizona during the boom, and I speculated on new builds.
So Cody, how old are you?
I just turned 33.
Wow.
So I'm a youngin'.
You've done a lot for...
years ago is when I started.
Yeah, you've done a lot for 33. Amazing. I mean, that's awesome. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was, let's think, 7.5 years ago. So I was in my mid-20s, borrowing money from my dad, lost about $12,000 that I borrowed from my dad, lost about $12,000 or $10,000 that I had saved, which was a ton of money for me just to have laying around. Realized a very important lesson, the location lesson. And because I actually bought these new builds at an auction where, you remember those auctions where they were auctioning off the ability to buy, and you thought, like, when you won, you hit the jackpot, and it was just ridiculous. But
for people that...
Hey, you're
For people that don't know, in Phoenix here, it was crazy because there were so many home builders that come into this market, and they had properties on the outskirts, and it was so crazy that when they had a subdivision they were going to open up, they had basically 2 or 3 specs, if they had that, and then they had people waiting at night, 2 and 3 nights, sleeping in their cars, in tents, waiting to bid on these houses to try to get a lottery to be able to purchase this new build. I remember that time I was going, holy cow, this is crazy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did, and I didn't get like 2 or 3 auctions, and then I finally went to one, and I won the lottery, and I was able to get the ability to put down my earnest deposit of $10,000. It was non-refundable. I bought a house, and I said, well, where's my house? And they said, well, it's not built yet. And I said, okay, well, where's the subdivision? And they're like, it's not in existence yet. I'm like, what city is it in? They're like, it's in a place called Buckeye.
Oh.
I'm like, Buckeye? I've lived here my whole life. I've never even heard of Buckeye.
What's Buckeye? Yeah.
And you look it up on the map, and it's like halfway to L.A., and you're like, oh, boy, okay, well, how can I lose? Everybody's making money.
Right.
Well, by the time they built, and I won another auction about 2-3 months later, and they told me it was in Tolleson. And so I bought 2 new builds, put my $10,000 deposit down on both, and had to walk away from the Buckeye deposit because it took them 2 years to build, or 3 years to build almost, and it just, the market was already starting to shift.
Right.
And I ended up closing on the Tolleson house, and they put a deed restriction that I couldn't transfer the deed within 12 months, which I had no idea what that even was at the time. And so now I ended up it took 2 years to build, another year to own. By the time I sold it, the market had turned, and it was just a disaster. So I lost a bunch of money on that as well.
Now, did you have any
during that time?
Did you have any real estate education at that time when you
No.
So
you know what my real estate education was? I went to a Learning Annex event, and there was like 200 or like 100,000 people there.
Right.
In L.A. It was like this monstrous event, and I said, hey, if all these people are investing, I'm going to invest, and I learned a pretty good lesson. So, no, I didn't have any education, which was stupid on my part.
Yeah, absolutely,
But,
But you don't know. I mean, everybody, you're right. It's funny. I remember at one point I went and got my hair cut, and the hairdresser was saying what she did the same thing. She bought this house. It was, she won the lottery. It was a new build house, and she flipped it and made $40,000. And I'm like going, okay, the hairdresser's making $40,000. Something's going on here,
Yeah, and that's what I was hearing. I had a friend named Jeremy that invited me to the Learning Annex. That's how I even got, going to these things. So anyway, the point is, during the time that they were building out all this stuff, I started learning about wholesaling. Yeah. Because I liked that concept because now I had no money, and average credit or no, bad credit by this point. So, I literally started wholesaling, and I just faked it till I made it. It took me a way long time to actually complete my first wholesale transaction, and I would just go to RIA meetings and stuff and say, hey, I'm a wholesaler, and they'd say, okay, well, do you assign or double close? And I just pretend like I even knew what that meant. I'd be like,
both.
Oh, yeah,
you just said both.
Yeah, I do all that stuff.
Everything, yeah.
And then I'd go home and Google it and be like, what does an assignment mean? What does a double closing mean? And I slowly started figuring things out. And then fortunately, about a year into not really making any money, I did start educating myself. Mm-hmm. And it was the best move I made because I was such an A-type personality and so full of myself. I thought I could figure it all out and just make it happen on my own.
Right.
That I ran at it alone. And really, if there's anybody listening to this that understands what I'm talking about right now, just stop doing that to yourself. I mean, there's so many resources out there, so much technology, so much educational resources, so many great groups to become a part of that will really catapult your investing business. I know you, Sean, you have a fantastic membership site where people learn a lot. I wish that I knew about a site like that when I was first getting started. I started this company called Clever Investor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like, it's when you have, when you're first getting in, to real estate, and there's so many different, areas you can really spend your time and focus on, but, when it comes to wholesaling for the barrier of entry for someone brand new, and that's why I kind of, gear the whole podcast around wholesaling is because the barrier of entry is low. You don't have to have cash. You don't have to have credit, and you can, tie up a property and within that time turn around and sell it and make, huge amounts of money. And then if you want to get on to actually fixing and flipping and buying and holding, you can do that. But, it's a definite way to obviously get into the game. So.
Oh, I've been doing it now for the full time since I figured it out. And that's what Clever Investor was. It was a wholesaling operation. I started doing maybe a deal a month or a deal every 2 months in the beginning. I think my first year I made like $26,000 wholesaling. And I thought, okay, I haven't replaced my income,
right.
But I actually did one deal at the beginning of my second year. It was a short sale deal. This was, I want to say, in end of 06 or somewhere right around there.
Right.
I did this short sale flip where we negotiated a short sale, and I wholesaled it to a cash back-end buyer. Okay, so a cash buyer. I didn't do anything creative. But when I sold it, I made $43,000 on the deal. I had a partner involved, so I got to keep half, and she kept the other half. And that was the day I quit my job.
You're like, done.
Yeah, screw this. I'm done. I'm going to figure this thing out. If it kills me, I have enough money to be able to live for a few months. Let's do this. And my girlfriend, I was complaining to her all the time that I wanted to do it, and she finally just said, quit being, a wussy and go do it if you're going to do it.
Don't you love women in your life? Women in your life just make you just
push
it.
She's been the soundboard. I'm telling you, find a good spouse or significant other that will support your investing business because that's the number one motivator I have. When times were tough, she would punch me and say, get going. And, when I had conflict, she would process through it with me. She hates real estate to the point where she's like, Cody, if you talk about a house one more time, I'm going to kill you. Because I'm constantly talking about real estate and houses with her. But she gives the best advice. So
let me ask you a question. So you were it's like 06. You were you did the year before. You made $20-something thousand or so, and then you made that big deal. From that point to going from where you were at that point to a superstar in the business when it comes to really cranking it out. What do you think was the difference for you? What made that difference from going from doing one or two deals every couple months to just blowing it out? What was the difference, you think?
I started surrounding myself with a group of other investors that were doing some pretty big deals, and I started going to their mastermind groups. And I started taking some educational classes, both at the local RIA, and I got hooked up with this guy he actually passed away a few years ago. His name was Jack Miller. And I went to a couple of his events, and it really opened my eyes to the power of a community. And I really became a much better networker, and I realized that my network was going quality of my network was the key to my success. And so as I built those relationships, and I started being able to go to these guys and say, look, I've just done these 2 or 3 deals. What can I do better? Or how can I look at these differently? And they would give me advice. On the next deal, I was a big action taker, and so I would go out, I'd apply what I learned, and then I'd go back to them and say, look, I did what you told me, and I think it really resonated with them. And some of these guys had some pretty big money behind them, and that opened the doors to me being able to raise some private funds.
Gotcha.
Once I raised the money, it was, no holds barred, off to the races.
Right.
And,
well, I think it's something you said something very important in there is first off you had people that you could talk to and you can learn from, so that community. But what instead of what I see a lot of people doing is they'll get a technique, right, or a chunk of information, and then they'll kind of sit on it and they'll dissect it and they'll talk to their friends about it. But you went out and just applied it, and I think from my perspective, we're a lot alike that way because, I find a golden nugget or some chunk of information and I'll immediately go apply it just to get the results. And I might not, get success on the first try or the second try, but then once I wrap my head around it, it's like, just like you said, no holds barred. I'm going to go, full boat ahead. And I think that is, one of your success traits that you're, why you're so successful doing what you do is because you take that action. So that's awesome.
And then the second part of my success, you kind of alluded to it in the introduction of me, is I was, from a very early on in my career, I focused heavily on building a web presence. And I think when I first started, I really didn't understand the entire scope of how that would change my investing career. But anybody who takes the time to kind of map out a lead generation funnel and start learning search engine optimization. You don't have to be the best in the business, but if you have a basic understanding of SEO and you're able to set up websites and squeeze pages and set up lead funnels that drive traffic to those squeeze pages and websites, such as blogging and articles and releasing press releases and understanding how much time you should spend on your online marketing, on your social media marketing, really map that all out and come up with an online funnel, okay, which you're very familiar with, Sean. I'm very familiar with funnels, but
right.
People listening to this might not understand really how important a really solid funnel is. And for instance, like I have a funnel that I have all these blogs and articles out about short sales, because short sales, like I said, I made all that money on a short sale, and I just said to myself, I'm going to run at this short sale business for a while and see where it goes.
Right.
I started pumping out articles and blog posts and forum postings. I would go on question and answer forums and answer questions for people. And what I found is, even though I might not have known a ton about short sales in the very beginning, just by writing about it so much over a years-long period, I became an expert because I did all this research to answer questions and write, about specific topics. How does a homeowner in Arizona avoid foreclosure with a real estate short sale? What does the short sale process look like? What are issues that could come up when negotiating short sales? And so whatever topic I was researching and writing about, I became kind of an expert at that. And then as we were doing the short sales, I became better and better at the negotiation side and the packaging side. And I just really became an expert at that point. But my online marketing drove traffic to a single website. That website was designed for converting that traffic
right.
into giving me their name, phone number, and email address. And once I collected that, I was able to immediately call them and start working with them. But they already kind of came to me knowing, after seeing this content out there, that I was kind of the area expert. And what happened was, after about a year pumping out content, my website was ranked #1 for anything that had to do with short sales in Arizona.
Wow.
And a lot of deals came my way, hundreds per month. I got hundreds of leads per month in the short sale business.
Wow.
From that. And so then I started doing that for all kinds of things. Do you have a house that you inherited? Do you have a probate situation? And I would write tons of content about probate and funnel people to a probate conversion page. I did the same thing for, are you moving out of state? Have you lost your job? Whatever it was I was trying to do to acquire property, I would run at it and pump out tons of content and funnel them into a squeeze page.
Right.
And that was the second really great thing that I did, because even to today, and I haven't really focused on writing any new content for my lead generation sites in about 2 or 3 years.
Wow. So all that work you've done, you created it, you put it out there, and Google picked it up, and now it's stuck on Google for those particular search terms.
Stuck on Google.
Yeah.
I'm still receiving tons of leads per month, not as many as I used to, because the short sale business has kind of trickled off a little bit and too many people got in the game. But overall, I still get probably, out of all my marketing, I probably do 5 to 6 really money-motivated seller deals per month.
Wow.
And I would say probably once per year, and those deals would probably net me anywhere between $5,000 to $6,000 a deal, just from locking them up and wholesaling real quick. Once a year, I hit about 2 home runs out of my online marketing, and those home runs pay off anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000 per deal, per transaction. And it's just like I didn't do anything for that lead. It's just my content was out there, and it funneled in, and I was able to actually, use my education and all the tools in my investor tool belt to go back out and structure the deal the right way to maximize the profit that I can get out of it. But 99% of the time, I'm wholesaling deals that I'm locking up.
Right.
I'm not even touching them, really.
Now, would you believe I have never, ever done a short sale? Ever. I've never flipped a short sale. Never flipped a short sale, and I knew it was obviously huge part of the marketplace, but I didn't know anything about it. I tried to target deals that were I could tie up today and I could sell a week later, and I could flip it very quick for cash. But when it came to short sales, it seemed like there was such a long process, and it was very tedious, and it was ever changing. So, for you to be able to, make such a great success in that niche, and then now what you're doing, it's all like you reverse engineered it, which was, like I said, brilliant, and kind of get into that exactly how you. So tell us what happened in the short sale market that led you to what you're doing now. What led you to that point? Yeah.
So. I've come up with this investing strategy called the reverse short sale. Okay, and the name is pretty much what the name says it is. Okay, a reverse short sale is basically doing a short sale backwards, but you're able to skip the bank negotiations, which are just a pain in the butt, and there's no competition on these deals. Okay,
yeah, because I've never heard of it.
And the way the reverse short sale strategy evolved is I was working short sales. Okay, that I would work for. As the investor trying to buy it, me and my team would work for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months on a deal. And for whatever reason, something caused the short sale to fail. And it would go to the auction, the foreclosure auction.
Right.
And I was, at the same time I was running my short sale business, I was getting my wholesale inventory from down at the auction. So I was buying houses down at the auction. I probably bought 100 houses from 08 to 09, and then maybe 75 houses from 09 to 010 down at the auctions. And I would either wholesale them out or fix and flip them. So that was kind of like what I was doing while we were waiting for these short sales to approve. And
which is a lot of deals. I mean, that's like 10 a month. You know what I mean? That's a lot of deals.
Yeah, we were ripping through them, and it was a ton of fun, but it was just a ton of work too. I mean, it's no joke to do that much work. And I was making $5,000 to $10,000 per flip. It's not like I was, cleaning house. We were just doing a lot of volume. But I also had partners in the deal to be able to go down to auction and buy. I had to raise private money, so I had to pay out, people. It wasn't like all going into my pocket. But it was still well worth it for me because, leveraging my time with private money is a winning equation. But so I'm doing these short sales, and we had one sale. It was a higher-end deal, and I had one of my guys that were the negotiator on the deal call me up and basically say, hey, we're having this short sale. It was over in the Biltmore sale, and, it's a pending short sale at $480,000, and the original bid, the posted bid, was $397,000. Okay?
Okay.
So there was about an $82,000 spread between what the bid was, where it was going to go to auction, and what we were working at on the short sale, which we had an end buyer willing to pay $480. Okay, so what was ridiculous about this is my offer was somewhere around $390 as the investor trying to buy the short sale. I
Right.
had a back-end buyer that was lined up to pay me $480. Okay?
Right.
But for whatever reason, I think on this particular deal there was some mortgage insurance that came into play and a second lien holder that was just a pain in the butt. The first was ready to go, and the second and the mortgage insurance disapproved the deal. And we said, just take it to auction. We'll get money, some other way. So it failed, and we were pissed because we were about
that was a $90,000 deal. Yeah, $90,000 deal. You were banking. You had the buyer in place. They were ready to go, and all you had to do was get the approval. So you were weeks away from a payday, right? But then you were like, and it just all falls apart. Oh, man.
Yep. And so, and that was a higher-end deal, mid-range high-end deal. And we kind of looked at each other, and we just said, well, what if we go down to the auction and buy it? And just, we've been walking away from these short sales for so long. Let's just go down and buy it. And how can we structure the deal to sell it to the same person that was trying to buy it from us as a short sale? And so that's exactly what that's what we did. We went down, purchased it at auction, okay? And by the time the deal ironed out, we were able to sell it to the end buyer in about 28 days. So from the time we bought it at auction, where our money was locked up, to the time we sold it, it was about 28 days. And the way we constructed the deal was pretty creative. And I said to myself, well, look, we're taking a big risk if we just go down to the auction and pay cash, $397,000 cash.
Right.
So how can we limit our risk? Right? As wholesalers, I'm always trying to minimize my risk. As an investor, I'm always trying to minimize risk. So I said to myself, well, how much is this buyer putting down to get a loan to buy this thing, a conventional loan? How much are they going to put down to buy this for $480,000? All right, and they were putting down $96,000. They were going to put 20% down.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, wonder if this buyer would be willing to put that same $96,000 down as non-refundable earnest. So now I know they're committed, right? They're going to definitely.
They're not going to go anywhere, right?
They're not going to go anywhere, okay? And so.
Non-refundable subject. So that's subject to you delivering marketable title, right? On your side. Right.
When we were working the short sale, we already had an appraisal done, so I knew the house would appraise.
Right.
We already had an inspection on the property done. We were ready to close the short sale, and it just failed.
Right.
And so when we went down and we bought it at auction, before we did, a couple days before, we sat down with the buyer and we said, look, things aren't going good with the short sale. You've been waiting for 4 months along with us to buy this property. You're not going to be able to buy it now unless you kind of get creative with us. And here's what our proposal is. We're willing to go take the risk and put up all the cash and buy it at auction, but you got to put a little skin in the game and work with us, and we'll sell it to you for the same price you're trying to buy it for right now, and you'll be able to quit waiting and just get this deal done. And the guy, he was a Canadian investor, a Canadian homeowner that was buying a second home, a vacation spot, and he said, okay, I'll do that deal. And he put up the $96,000 as non-refundable earnest. And we put it in the contract that no matter what, he's never getting that money back. And we had all these addendums and all this stuff drawn up by our attorneys.
Right.
We did the deal, and nothing went wrong. Everything went smooth. And we closed the transaction 28, 29 days later, and we all got paid. Everybody got what they want. The light bulb went off.
The light bulb went off.
Wow.
Ding, ding, ding.
I was like, cool, we could do this as a business model for our short sales. And so that's what we did for a little while. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, how can I do this? Because I was telling other real estate agents about what we were doing.
Right.
And they were like, well, can you do it for us? And I was like, yeah, I can. Sure, no problem. And so it became like a thing like, hey, I was networking with agents saying, call me if your short sale fails. Well, then I sat down one day and I said, okay, I got to create a system that is going to be able to take, whether it's me or somebody that's never done a short sale, never bought a house at auction, how can I build out a complete system that shows somebody how to structure these deals from front to back, using none of their own money and none of their own credit. Just come at it from the angle like as a wholesaler. How can I structure this deal and close out within 30 days and get paid these big fat checks? And so that's what I did. I sat down and we built out this system, and we had it reviewed by our attorneys and got all the paperwork drawn up. And so
okay, so let's dissect it. Let's dissect it from someone like me. I don't know anything about reverse short sales. I don't know anything about short sales. So what would I do from a brand new person? What would be the first thing I would do if I want to implement this strategy in my business? Where am I finding? Who am I looking for first? I'm sure I'm looking for pending properties that are either listed or just pending foreclosures or what?
Yep, great question, man. So we've actually created 8 steps to completing a reverse short sale, and if you follow 8 steps, you should be able to do one. But let me back up a little bit. So the simple concept from a reverse short sale, especially if it's not like a short sale that's failing, that's in your own pipeline, if you're out there searching for deals, a reverse short sale is basically you reaching out to listing agents. Okay. And you're able to find these listing agents on the MLS. So finding leads to do reverse short sales is free. There's no marketing costs to do a reverse short sale.
Okay, very cool.
So what I'm doing is either me, because I happen to have access to the MLS, or if you don't have access to the MLS, go to your real estate agent and ask them to do some research on the MLS for you. And you basically are pulling a list of the pending short sales. Okay, and I like personally to do high-end short sales, anything over $500,000 or $400,000 and above.
Right.
You could do it in lower price ranges. Doesn't matter. I personally just like to, if I'm going to do just as much work to make $10,000 as I am going to make $50,000, I might as well go for the $50,000. That's kind of my mentality. But
right. And also, there's less competition down at the auctions when it comes to actually bidding on those properties.
Yeah, if you have a lot of pending short sales in your area that are higher end, definitely go for the higher end. But the concept is this. Search the MLS to find pending short sales, okay? And then what you do is you scrub the list of the pending short sales with a list of the properties that are going to auction within the next 30 to 60 days, okay?
Right.
Those are your leads. Those are your potential reverse short sale deals, the ones that wash out of that scrubbing between the pending listings. And I search pending for a reason, because I want them to have offers on the properties. And we're scrubbing them against the foreclosure data of houses that are scheduled to go to auction within the next 30 days to 60 days, but normally 30 days. Okay, so that's pretty much step number one.
So you have a property that's currently pending, and it's pending because there's either they have an end buyer in place on that particular property, but there's an impending event, which is the foreclosure date that's 30 days out. So either two things are going to happen. One, they're going to successfully complete that short sale, and that lead will obviously expire, and it'll be good. Or there's a probability that they won't complete that, which it then very well could go to auction. Do you have any idea of the ratio of or the percentage of short sales that actually go to sale versus get completed? Do you have any idea?
It really depends on the market.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I know here in Arizona, it's about 30% of the deals to 40% of the deals go to auction.
Wow.
So more and more short sales, it comes in waves too. I think depending on what the government is doing with the banks behind the scenes, But I've seen it over the last year and a half that we've been doing these. They've been kind of coming and going in waves depending on the time of year and what else is happening in the background. But there was a chance in our pipeline. I had 50 to 100 short sales being worked at any one time. There was always a large portion of those that would fail. And it would just be so frustrating to us, because not only did we waste time, but the buyer who sat around and waited to get that particular property ended up having to go find something else.
So you lost the buyer, you lost the commission, you lost all that work and energy because you're not going to charge up front for it. Okay, so
Right.
so you got these leads, you scrub them down, and now you have, let's say you have a handful, you have a couple hundred.
Now you got a potential reverse short sale deal.
Okay.
There's motivation there because the auction is coming up. And what you do next is simply pick up the phone and call the listing agent and talk to them and ask them a question like, so, I'm potentially interested in this property, but let me ask you a question. I see it pending. How's the negotiations with the banks going? You're going to get one of two responses. You're either going to get, I'm a superstar real estate agent. Everything I ever touch gets completed. I'm the best of the best. Or you're going to get, the banks suck. I hate my life. Short sale is probably going to fail. Whatever. And that's what we're waiting to hear.
Right.
Okay. That's when your ears perk up. And at that point, what you do is you introduce yourself and you say, listen, I'm a local investor here, and together with me and my partners, we offer a program called the Commission Saver Program. And the way this program works is we will pay you your full entire commission if this pending short sale fails, where we will go down and buy it at the auction and sell it to your buyer that you currently have under contract to buy it as a short sale for the same price that they're trying to buy it as a short sale. We'll pay you your full commission. We'll pay the buyer's agent their full commission, and we'll be able to get this deal done. This is the ultimate backup plan because we know that, sometimes no matter how hard you work and what your intentions are to really try and make this deal happen, sometimes things are just out of your control. And we want to be there and have a relationship with you to be able to step in at the 11th hour, save the day, get everybody paid, and make it a win-win situation for all the parties involved in this.
Dude, that is brilliant. That is because the agents have the relationship with the buyer, right, and the seller, right, so they can work together to go out and get this thing done and get it completed if for some reason it fails. And they're motivated because because they want to save their commission. Otherwise, all that work they've done is so you pretty much that's awesome. That's how keep going.
Yeah, and that was really the first step in building out our system was where do we find the leads and how can we do this with deals that aren't in our pipeline? And this was the solution to that.
Right.
Our Commission Saver program is completely scripted. So we've actually built out the highest converting email script and phone scripts that you can use when pitching this program to listing agents.
Right.
So then, from there, the listing agent's only job is to introduce you to the buyer's agent, just like you said. Now you're regurgitating the Commission Saver program again to the buyer's agent. They put you in contact with the buyers. Now you're probably 75% of the way done putting one of these deals together at this point.
Right.
Once you reach
so
the buyer,
everybody's on board now. So you get everybody on board. They understand the program. They understand what's going to happen as you as the fail-safe. So, okay, go ahead.
Yep. And at this point, when I'm sitting down talking with the buyers, I'm explaining to them the benefits of working with us if this thing goes this direction. Now, the next step in the process is to start doing some due diligence. And I do due diligence, which is basically just my research to make sure that I'm lowering my risk as much as possible and I know everything that's going on, all details that's going on with this deal.
Right.
I do due diligence on the property, on the buyer, and then on the auction itself. With the property, I'm looking for things like, is the appraisal and the inspection done? If it's not, I make sure we get those done before the auction occurs. I want to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that this thing's going to appraise and that there's no foundational or roofing issues or major electrical issues or anything like that.
Right.
And normally, if you're doing the high-end stuff, you normally don't have any major issues. So,
right, and the buyer pays obviously for the appraisal. Buyer pays for appraisal. Buyer pays for inspection. They should have that done already anyway, especially if they're Yeah.
About 75% of the time they have that stuff done just because they're about to buy it as a short sale.
Right.
But if they don't, that's fine. They have to fork out the cash and go get it. You explain to them that there's some risk involved in doing this, and this is to protect you from when we go down and pay cash down at the auction, that's a done deal. There's no unwinding that transaction. We're moving forward at that point. So let's just spend $500 or $600 and get these things completed. That way we know without a shadow of a doubt that we're all going to be protected in this deal. And I haven't had any pushback on that. But,
oh, sure, yeah, absolutely not.
But the due diligence on the buyer, I'm now looking at their pre-qual form, which used to be called an LSR.
Yep.
So that's when they sat down with their lender and got pre-qualified. I'm looking at proof that they have the down payment to get their loan. I'm looking for the fact that they are putting down money to get a loan. Okay, this doesn't work with FHA or Fannie, whatever loans where they're putting down 3%. It just doesn't work because we need the end buyer to have some skin in the game. Now, could they get one of those loans? Let's say I had $50,000 in my bank account. I'm trying to buy a $200,000 house. I have $50,000 in my bank account. I'm only going to put 3% of the $200,000 just to get the house, to get my loan to get the house. That's fine. I don't care what loan structure you're getting. If you're willing to put up some of your $50,000 or all of your $50,000 as non-refundable earnest, that can be released out of escrow back to you once you get a loan and I get cashed out.
I gotcha.
Get where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
really
completely. So they have an invested interest in the house. They want the house. They're committed to it. So you don't have a flaky buyer, and now you have a house you pretty much bought at 78% of value or whatever it might be. Because otherwise you choose another house you could buy that you'd want to flip. You want to make sure the guy's committed, or you're not going to risk your cash. And I think that would be an easy proposition to say to a buyer, so listen, I'm going down to the auction on your behalf. I'm going to pay 100% of the X amount of dollars, $100, $180, $200,000, whatever that is. So, I'm not going to do this on your behalf if you don't put up, So if you're wishy-washy on this deal, I can get that.
Yep. And so at this point, I'm looking at I kind of ask them about their credit score. I don't verify it. I just say, give me a range of where your credit score is at because I just want to get a gauge of where they're at. But mainly, I want the contact information of their lender.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can have a candid conversation with them. So a lot of times they have to give us permission to talk to their lender. So they'll call their lender with us on three-way and say, go ahead and answer any questions. And then we'll ask them some basic questions about, their ability to get a loan and what kind of loan structure he's trying to put them in.
Yeah, and are they at a pre-approval, or do they have a full approval subject to, an appraiser or whatever?
Yeah, is there any conditions or stipulations? And really, I'm trying to make sure that there's no seasoning issues with their loan type that they're trying to get. Because if I buy the house at auction, I try to flip it to them immediately. I don't want there to be a seasoning issue where I have to wait 90 days.
Right, exactly.
Right, and every deal I've ever done hasn't had a seasoning issue. That typically goes away if they're putting 20% down. So this strategy definitely works best with people who are putting 20% down.
So that's why you target the higher end houses. I mean, instead of a $70,000, $80,000 house, because first there's a lot less competition at the steps, for bidding the property up, and two, you're dealing with a more qualified buyer that would fully understand what you're doing in the process of going down and paying cash for the house. And if you're dealing with $300,000 and $400,000 and $500,000 houses, you'll have that guy that will put the 20% down all day long because that's the type of buyer that you're dealing with. So
right, and I think it's I don't want to get this wrong, but it's somewhere around $417,000 and above is considered a jumbo loan, and jumbo loans require 20 to 25% down. So the higher the price property, the easier it is to structure these deals because it's almost guaranteed that your end buyer is, one, more sophisticated, and two, they're putting a lot of money down. They normally have a lot of money. So
right. All right, so you get everybody in agreement. They put the non-refundable. You get the appraisal. You do your due diligence. You say it's a go, and now you're 20 days out from auction. What happens?
No, I'm like a week away from auction.
Oh, so you're a week away from auction.
By this point, because normally my initial goal when I'm talking to the buyer's agent and listing agent is just to set the stage for them to call me about a week out from auction.
Gotcha.
Right? Because it's too far out. They're still working the short sale. They don't know which way it's going to go.
So a week out, these guys aren't going to have a house, or they are going to have a house. So everyone's now motivated and pushing forward to execute the fail-safe plan.
Right, and that's why I'm targeting deals with the 30-day auction.
Gotcha.
30 days or less, because that means the deal's right around the corner for me.
Yep.
And so at this point, I move over. I start doing auction research, trying to find out date, time, opening bid, if it's posted. Not every state posts an opening bid. That's not a problem. I'll still go down and stand around and wait and keep my fingers crossed. And, probably a 50-50 chance at this point that the opening bid is going to be lower than what my end buyer is willing to buy it at. Unless the lender is just adamant about taking the property back, we're there's a good chance that it's going to open with enough of a spread that I can pay cash and flip it to my end buyer. So at this point, once I do my due diligence, I'm now starting to arrange my financing. Mm-hmm. The way I structure it is to have that end buyer put up their 20% down as non-refundable earnest. Lately, I've been taking it a step further. For like the last 6 months, I've been actually having them pre-release a portion or all of their earnest deposit directly to me.
Wow.
Okay. So the way the logistics of it, I'm using their earnest deposit to get leverage. I'm using it as leverage to go get a private hard money loan,
right.
or a hard money loan, private or hard money loan.
Uh-huh.
So let's just think about another deal that I did. So I had this deal. Okay, it was on 73rd Way in Scottsdale, Arizona. The original short sale was for $550,000.
Okay.
The bid ended up, the original posted bid was $430,000. So there's a big spread there, $120,000 spread.
Right.
Well, at the last second, the bank jumped the bid, which anybody who understands what a jump bid is. They basically raised it from $430 to $485, like maybe 20 minutes before the auction occurred.
Before the auction day,
so we were pretty pissed about that, but I already had everybody lined up. So I quickly went back and I called the listing agent and the buyer's agent. And I said, you guys got to take less in commissions if you want me to do this deal. And they gladly obliged. And we restructured the commission agreements, and we showed up down at the auction. And the buyer's agent actually showed up at the auction. Now, here in Arizona, it costs $10,000 to bid. Right? You got to show up with a cashier's check with $10,000 just to be able to.
And this is not a check. This is not an IOU. This is a cashier's check. Cashier's check. That's it.
Yeah, I mean they're making sure you're serious and you got the dough.
Yeah.
So we're down there. I had the buyer's agent meet me down there, and the way I structured this particular deal is I said to the end buyer, I said, look, your money's non-refundable. You're going to put up like $130,000 in non-refundable earnest. It's not refundable. You get that. So therefore, it doesn't matter if it's not refundable 10 days from now, 20 days from now, 30 days from now, or today, you're never getting that money back once I buy the house at auction. Now, if I don't buy the house at auction, you get all your money, you go your way, I never touch your money, and I just go on about my business like nothing ever happened. But if I win the bid, I'm going to have to hand the trustee a $10,000 cashier's check. So what I need you to do is send your buyer's agent, meet me down at the auction with with $10,000 cashier's check. So the way I structured the earnest deposit was $130,000 non-refundable with $10,000 paid directly to seller outside of escrow.
Yeah. Now, I get now. One question that pops up in my head is people are saying, okay, well, why wouldn't they just go down and bid on it themselves? And I think you're going to say is because first off, they don't have 100% of cash, and second off is that they won't be able to get that loan, that 4.5-5% loan that they want to get, right, from the buyer's perspective.
Right. It really comes down to risk, and that's a very valid question. And sometimes you'll come across a real estate agent that thinks they know it all.
Yeah.
That will say, well, why will my client use you? We could just go down and buy it. And I'll say, great. If you want to be the real estate agent that is recommending to your client to take their money and go get a hard money loan and buy a high-end property or any property that is going to probably not be able to get a rate and term refinance out of it for at least 90 days. So that means they're going to be trapped in a hard money loan for 90 days, which a lot can change in 90 days. The world changes, their credit changes, financing structures change.
Appraisals,
nowadays. So
when you do a rate and term refi, it's they don't do it based upon the price that you. I mean, they don't do it. Sometimes they look at what you bought it for, and that now sets the comp. So if you have 90 days, they're going to look at your house as a comp, and that could easily affect appraisal. And then now they have more cash out of pocket, and they won't be able to get out of that particular deal. They won't be able to get out of the 18%.
Yep, and so I just said, meet me down there with $10,000 cashier's check made out to me. I won't touch it unless I win the bid. Well, we won the bid. I got the check from the buyer's agent. I handed it to the trustee. The trustee handed me a receipt and said, you have till 5 o'clock the next day to fund the remaining balance of this transaction. I said, great. Turned around, I looked at my buyer and the buyer's agent. I said, go down and open up escrow.
Well, wait, let me back up.
Earnest deposited.
Hold on a second. Did you get it for a dollar over bid? Was there any other competitive bidders?
Not one. I won that house for $1 over. And that's the beautiful thing about the higher end deals is there's no competition really.
Brilliant.
Even when there is competition on the lower end stuff, you're always able to outspend them and pay more because they don't have a buyer lined up. They haven't done an inspection and an appraisal. They don't know what you know. Right? So you're able to spend more and get the deal almost all the time. So I've never had anybody outspend me when I'm doing a reverse short sale deal. So the point is, I had a spread of about $64,000, okay, built in there. I used the buyer's $10,000 that they gave me to actually win the bid. They went and opened escrow, deposited the remaining balance of their non-refundable, and I went and then paid for the property, and we were able to close that deal out. I think that one was about 28 days later or 26 days later, which seems to be about the average time it takes. And I was able to go get my check. Now, I used their non-refundable on the very next deal I did. I even took it a step further, and I said, look, I'm now going to get even more money released as the pre-release. So I started stepping up the amount of pre-release to see how far I could push it, and now I'm getting 100% of their money pre-released to me. I'm using that money as leverage to go get a hard money loan or a private money loan to fund the property at auction.
So for a guy listening to this right now who, let's say, has no cash or credit, if they have the buyer set up. Now, when it comes to working with a hard money loan, typically what they'll do I know in this market, they'll lend 60% of purchase price. Typically, if you have some other guys might do 30%. So you have to essentially get at least 20 or 30% upfront hard money, right? I mean, from the buyer to be able to show that in good faith to the hard money loan. Is that how you're working that, or what?
I don't have that same experience. I have hard money loan lenders that are willing to lend up to 80%. If you put 20% down, they'll fund the rest.
Okay.
The best place to find hard money lenders that are comfortable lending on auction properties, which is totally different than hard money lenders that are used to just funding like fix and flip loans and stuff like that.
Right.
Because it's a very fast-paced thing. There's a lot of research involved down at the auctions. So the hard money lenders that lend on that kind of stuff, they're really dialed in. And my lender, I just showed up and I said, look, I'm buying this house. I called him the day before the auction occurred, and and this is before the jump bid, and I said, I'm going to buy it for this price. I have a buyer already lined up for this price. I explained to the hard money lender what I was doing. I said, look, how much money do I have to put down? And he told me, if you want me to fund the property, this is how much money you have to put down, which ended up being about 20%. And I said, okay, let's go ahead and do this deal. Well, I happen to have money, my own money, but for somebody who doesn't have money, and I actually did one. I recorded the entire transaction, okay, from front to back, showing you how to structure this using none of your own money.
Right.
Because I knew people were going to ask me how to do this with none of your own money or none of your own credit. So I recorded an entire deal, me talking to the buyer's agent, the listing agent, the buyers, the hard money lender, everything gets recorded. And I actually do the transaction from front to back, and I show you the paycheck. And it really solidifies in people's mind how they can go out and leverage the buyer's non-refundable to get a hard money loan. Where you find these hard money lenders is just go down to the auction, hang out, network with the people down there. You're going to find two critical people that are going to help you do these type of deals. One, you're going to meet other bidders down there that might offer a bidding service for you for a fee. That way you don't have to go stand down at the auction all day waiting for the deal to come up for auction.
Yep.
They'll help you do some research, check lien position, understand what's going on as far as how many other bidders are on that deal, that kind of thing. And you also meet people that say, hey, I got a hard money lender. If you buy a property through me, I'll turn you on to my hard money lender that will fund an auction property.
So that eliminates that big obstacle for people, because sometimes people get afraid. They're like going, these hard money lenders, and they're afraid, and they don't want to obviously get stuck with the property. And are they going to check my credit? Are they going to do this? These guys, they fund strictly asset based, and if you can show that you've got non-refundable money on one side, you've got a buyer in place, and then once you build a relationship with them, then it's literally they know exactly what you're doing. They understand your business model. They understand that they're going to be exited out of the property within 30 days or less. then their risk standpoint is low, and they know they're going to get 20% of a property that's below market anyways. So
yeah. And once I did one or two of these, and I started telling people, I transitioned from hard money to private money really, really easily, because once you get a system down and you can have a little bit of credibility behind you, it's very easy to go to somebody and say, look, think about what I'm doing. I'm buying a house at auction, which is I'm probably paying 80 cents on the dollar down at the auction. Okay, maybe
right.
85, but somewhere in that range. Okay. At the same time, I'm getting the end buyer to put up 20%. Okay, so now I'm
right.
really buying it for 65 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Which is the sweet spot, for lenders.
Exactly.
So They're like, okay, I get what you're doing. They see that you've done it once or twice, and they'll throw money at you. The private money guys are even easier to talk into this type of transaction than a hard money lender, because a hard money lender is just turning and burning deals, and they're like, well, why are you getting so creative? And it takes them a while to get on the same page as you. Whereas a private money guy's like, dude, I get it.
I get it. Especially you throw him a couple points for the transaction, whatever it is, a point for the transaction, he'll be lining up to find these deals for you.
Yeah. And inside our course, Sean, I wrote a book called Auctions Made Easy. And I broke down all 50 states, their foreclosure process, and the auction buying process, so people can really understand how that works in their state. I still recommend people go down to the local auction, because some are online, some are at the courthouse, some are in front of a property, the subject property being auctioned. Figure out what in your state, the way it is, whether it's a judicial or non-judicial state, and go down to the auction and hang out. It's good, whether you're doing these deals or not, it's good to network with the people down there, because these are cash buyers. So if you're wholesaling, that's where you get your cash buyers.
Yeah.
Go down there and hang out and network.
Exactly. That's crazy. Wow. So, like I said, I never even heard of that, but it's amazing because when you think about it, it's going, wow, why didn't I think of that? Like a light bulb goes off. But there are obviously a way to engineer correctly and to be able to talk to the agents and present yourself in a professional manner and be able to have the correct agreements in place and the correct addendums in place and be able to structure the deal so there's no risk on your side. And it would completely make sense from a buyer's standpoint of why they would put the non-refundable up, because it would be only if you win that bid, which makes sense. But literally, you could put this a part of your system, because when it comes to wholesaling, you're looking for these below market deals, but sometimes that's not low hanging fruit. So there be people in this particular in a market right now where there are tons of short sales going on, but no one's really capitalizing on this particular strategy. And you could take $500,000 properties or $400,000 or even $300,000 properties and make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a pop, where the traditional wholesale model will make anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a pop. And like you said, you might have a home run. It's like 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 30 deals. You might have a home run, every once or twice a year from the traditional wholesale model. But, if you can implement something like this and make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a transaction, literally every deal that you do could be a potential home run for this particular strategy. That is sick.
And Sean, let me just put this out there. I told my buddy about this, who was a big short sale investor here in the Valley, and I said, look, man, this is what I'm doing. And he said, oh, cool. And he was a real smart guy. So he grasped the concept instantly, and he went out and did it within probably 30 days of me first telling him about it. And I get this text message that's saying, look at what I just made. And he snapped a photo of himself with a $172,000 check. And I'm like, what's that? I called the guy up. I'm like, what was that for? And he goes, dude, I did your reverse short sale. And I'm like, no way, man. That's amazing. First deal out of the gate, $172,000 on a house in Las Sendas, which is in Mesa, which is a really high-end community. He did bought it for $1, sold it for, or bought it for $980 and sold it for 1.2 something, and cleared $172,000. I was like, wow, that's amazing. It really opened my eyes to just the power of this deal. Screw doing 50 deals a year. I want to do $172,000 deal and retire for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no, just turn around and, I mean, think about it, to be able to, what if you just spent your time really, engineering those 2 or 3 deals a year? You could do $500,000 very easily on working, little amount of time. It's amazing. Now, obviously, not every deal is going to be 172,000, but literally, if you have a deal that you can make $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 per deal, you don't need many of those to do really, really well in this business. So,
yeah, and we've taken
now
the
tell
system that we built out is amazing, Sean. It really,
tell us what you've done
for you.
Yeah, tell us about the system,
so,
what you've actually created, because obviously, for someone listening to this, there's a lot of steps involved, and you're dealing with some obviously high caliber people, real estate agents, and hard money lenders and stuff like that know the game. So you kind of got to know what you're talking about, and this is where this education thing comes into play. So what have you put together?
Yeah, so when we built out the system, we kind of approached it from the angle of somebody who's never done a deal before, ever, whether it was a reverse short sale or any deal. Like they could be, working in a whole different industry, and I want to be able to show them this and have them walk away from this saying, I get it, I know how to implement it, I got all the paperwork. So we built out all the paperwork for them and showed them tons of examples of all the contracts and terms and all that, which is, the first step. We show them step-by-step videos that show them, I think there's like 7 or 8 pretty long videos, maybe 30, 45-minute videos inside the course that break down, follow me around. I do a whole reverse short sale transaction. I whiteboard it out. I explain, all the what-ifs and different angles and all that stuff through a presentation. And then we actually had a Q&A call where we handle all kinds of questions. People might be in California where they need 100% of the money to bid. How to structure a deal like that in California, how to do it on an online auction, how to do it, just anywhere in the USA, how to really break this down. We built out a calculator. This is one of the coolest things. We built out a calculator. This was not in existence. We invented this calculator that is called the reverse short sale calculator. It'll spit out what your profit is on your reverse short sale deal and what your maximum bid should be down at the auction in order to achieve that profit. So it's a really cool, useful tool when trying to figure out what am I going to make when I do one of these deals. It takes you about 1 minute to fill out the information. There's maybe 7 or 8 little fields you fill in, and it'll calculate everything for you and spit out all the information you need.
Yeah, that's very important because, I bought a lot of properties at the auction, and, I typically go through a bidder, but, when I'm actually down there and I'm physically down there, you can get caught up in this, the whole frenzy, and because they bid in $100 increments, so you're thinking, okay, what's another $100? What's another $100? What's $500 plus $1,000, So then, you can get caught up in this frenzy, and if you don't know your bottom line number of what the maximum amount you can bid and still obtain that profit, then that's very good knowledge to know when you're going down. You're working with these bidders or actually bidding on it yourself.
Yep.
That's cool.
And like I said, I wrote the book Auctions Made Easy, so you have access to the book. I broke down the mind maps involved with showing somebody from like a 500-foot overview of how to run and set up their reverse short sale business, all the key players involved, all the functions of those players, how much time they should be spending on those functions. It's a complete mind map of the reverse short sale process. I've also built out a complete mind map of our partnership program, and this is one of the coolest parts about this deal. I knew from the beginning that people were going to have a hard time funding properties at auction. So what I do with my students is I'll partner with you. You bring the reverse short sale deal to us. As long as it's you've done a couple different steps as far as making sure the appraisals and inspections are done. You source the property. You've already got the buyer on board with this concept. The commission saver program's already been explained. If you get it to that point, you can actually submit your deal to us. We will underwrite it and fund 100% of the transaction. Okay, 100% of the transaction for you, and we're just going to do a 50-50 profit split on the deal. Okay?
So that completely annihilates that entire objection of, holy cow, how do I find a lender that's going to be able to fund this thing for me? That's huge.
Boom, right there. I knew that was going to be a problem for people who weren't already plugged into a good network. And so we just came right out of the gate and said, look, let's fund these things nationwide. We'll put up 100% of the money. You source the deals. As long as you get it to a certain point and it passes our underwriting, we'll fund the deal. And so students love it because it's so easy for them to have the confidence to go out and start doing these deals. Plus, they can use us as credibility. When they're out talking to agents, they're saying, look, my partners are, dialed in on this stuff.
Yeah,
and
they fund nationwide on these deals, right, yeah.
Yeah, they're able to use us as credibility, and we're able to, show up and show them $1 million in our bank account and say, let's do this deal. It gives people a lot of confidence to go out and source these deals.
Right. That's awesome.
And we when we came out of the gate, we basically said this initial time that we're going to come out with this reverse short sale course, we basically said, we don't have any testimonials. Only we've been doing this. We invented this strategy from the ground up. So It's not like there's a lot of people out there doing that. We only have our own personal testimonials. We wanted to create a handful of testimonials. That way we can come out of the gate and show people this system works nationwide, and look at all the students that are very, very successful doing this concept.
Right.
So what we've done is we're offering this entire system, everything, the funding, the partnership, the calculators, the spreadsheets, everything, for $97. That's it. Cost of dinner and a movie.
$97? Now that's that's $97 a month, right?
No, one-time fee. We just
Holy
said, look,
cow, dude.
Let's give it to the people, but there's a catch. And the catch is we're going to limit it to 175 people. So the first 175 people listening to this that take action are going to get this course, everything involved, for $97. If you don't like it within the first 30 days, send me an email and I'll fire your money back just as fast as you sent me that email. Like, it'll be like within a day or two. Like, I really am not interested in working with people who don't want to take action and make some real money. Bring the deals to us. Let's partner together. Let's make some money. Or do it yourself and send us a testimonial. But I really do want to limit this because the investors that do take action on this, I don't want them to have a lot of competition.
Right. Yeah, I mean, think about it. You got 175 people. You're looking obviously for success stories, and I'm sure that you're going to quadruple the price in the future, and that's why I wanted to have you on for this important call, because I think it is a strategy where people can really be able to really make those big chunks and big checks, in their business to go out and accomplish what the whole thing is we want to accomplish, which is to be able to, get your first check, quit your job, and go out and build cash flow in their lives so they can go out and do the things they want to do. So we actually have a special page we set up for Cody. It's flip2freedom.com/Cody, C-O-D-Y, flip2freedom, freedom.com/Cody. You go there, and what will they see when they go to that page?
They're going to see, really, it's just going to be a checkout page for them to be able to take advantage of this. But the important thing is what's going to happen after they invest in the course. Immediately, they're going to get a couple emails, and it's going to have them set up their access to our members-only area. This is where you're going to find all your course materials, the calculators, the submission tab, so you can learn about the partnership program and actually submit deals to us. Everything's going to be put right in there. They're going to have a ton of support from us, okay? Because I'm really dedicated to the people that take action today and invest in the course, because I want them to succeed. Like I said, I want some testimonials, and so our support staff is on call, ready to help you out. Make sure that you understand how to use the course, you understand the paperwork, you understand how to go out there and implement this stuff.
Right.
But we're keeping it simple. It's $97. I can't even take my kids and my wife to dinner and a movie for $97 anymore. I went to the movies the other day, just for me and my wife. It was $22 for our tickets.
Wow. You could probably sell that calculator you were talking about for $97, and then another $97 for the book, and another. So I think the money is that's a moot point. It's the information that you are delivering, which is phenomenal information for people to use this. I mean, why wouldn't you? Because this is a strategy, and I'm all about strategies when it comes to finding properties, when it comes to seller financing, and implementing strategies. Because when you're marketing, regardless of what marketing, you'll run across deals that will come across where a house will be upside down, and they'll be in a short sale process, or something will happen to where you go, oh my gosh, there's that tool in that toolbox, which I learned from Cody about how to go out and reverse engineer a short sale, and guess what? You'll come in and save the day and be able to bank a huge amount of profit. So it's another tool in your toolbox to be able to make that happen. Or it's a complete entire business model that you can blow out and do all across the country if you're really ambitious. So.
Yeah. And Sean, I promised you today that I would hold nothing back. Hopefully I fulfilled my promise. And I gave the goods, man. So now it's up to you people to take action. I love your podcast, man. This is such a cool way to get people together on the same page. I love this stuff. You're on the forefront of technology, and I'm just a big fan, man. So thank you for just having me on.
And I think, and I like to have guests on to be able to, to share strategies like you've just shared. But I hate the podcast where you go and they give you just a tidbit here and tidbit and kind of hide the real meat. But you gave the real meat. You engineered pretty much the 8-step process of exactly from start to finish to where someone could go out and do this. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd be afraid to go out and do the thing without having the information to know exactly and specifically in the scripts and stuff like that. But, and I'm an experienced investor, but the bottom line is that now people can understand and grasp the concept so they can actually implement that in their business and make those huge checks. Which are very exciting to get. When you get a $172,000 check or a $40,000 check or a $50,000 check, you cannot sleep the night before. Believe me, you're excited because you know it's closing and you know you're going to get paid and your heart's racing and you're going, man, that is sometimes more money than most people make in an entire year. They can make on one deal just by engineering it exactly the way you just talked about. So, guys, go to flip2freedom.com/Cody. Flip 2freedom.com/Cody. Be one of the 175. Take advantage of this thing, and then make sure that you send those big checks and your videos back to Cody. I'm sure he'll appreciate it, so he can come out with these testimonials and ramp it up for his future launch. So, Cody, it's been a pleasure.
Buddy. I appreciate it, man. You're the best.
Thank you, man. Appreciate your time, and we're excited to see what happens with this. We'll talk to you later.
Cool. Talk to you.
I'll see you.